Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Today I have a review for you, a decant of a perfume that I've had for a couple of years now, and it's from the house of Rochas. This is Moustache Original 1949, not to be confused with Moustache EDP, which was released a couple of years ago. Along with this, I think this one was released in 2018. The more popular, more visible on social media, if you like, is the Moustache EDP, which looks like this bottle. And the one I'm reviewing today is Moustache Original 1949. That looks like in this bottle. So the reason it's called Original 1949, because way back in 1949, Rochas released a moustache. I think it came in an eau de cologne concentration or similar. And the perfumer was Edmund Rudnitzer. And it's interesting because I noticed on Fragrantica, and I haven't cross-checked this, but the composition credit, the noses for this perfume are credited to Rudnitzer and his wife Therese Rudnitzer, and I didn't even realize that she was also a perfumer, but they get joint credit for this perfume. So what happened was when Interparfum took over Rochas, they apparently recreated Rochas, the original 1949, using the same formula. Whether that's true or not, I can't verify, and I don't have an original 1949 to compare to the current day Moustache Original 1949. The first time that I smelled Rochas Moustache 1949, the one perfume that it actually reminded me of, without doing a comparison, was Eau Sauvage by Christian Dior. And that was interesting to me once I realized that the same perfumer was responsible for both Moustache and Eau Sauvage, except that Eau Sauvage came out, let's say, 17 years later. But as I've been wearing this, and now that I have albeit a current version of Eau Sauvage, I thought it would be very interesting to do a review of Moustache and compare it at the same time to Eau Sauvage. So this afternoon, I spent the day sort of taking notes of the dry downs of each perfume, and I just want to sort of talk about each kind of stage in comparison. So what I will say is that they both open up with a predominantly lemon dominant note, okay? But when you do smell them side by side, you realize that for the Moustache 1949, the lemon is almost leaning towards the hard lemon candy sherbet kind of lemon, whereas when you smell the lemon on Eau Sauvage right in the opening, it smells more natural, but you also really notice how well blended it is with the white floral accord that's going on in Eau Sauvage. Whereas in the Moustache 1949, it's definitely not a natural smelling lemon. And there's not real, it's kind of a darker tone compared to the Eau Sauvage. And this is a theme that will carry on throughout the dry down of each perfumes, that there is a contrast in dark shade and light, if you like. After a few minutes, the Moustache 1949, it changes a little bit, and the main thing that I notice is that I pick up this kind of very kind of bitter undertone that comes through after that opening, and it's almost like I'm smelling the white lemon pith, the fleshy part of the lemon, which has that kind of quite bitter, astringent sort of smell to it that lacks all the sweetness of the actual juice and some of the lemon zest. The Eau Sauvage continues to keep that sort of natural lemon, white floral, but then you start to notice definitely this is kind of where they start to depart in a major way. The Eau Sauvage definitely brings up a bit more of a herbal quality. I definitely start to smell. It was interesting because when I was comparing them to each other, I started to smell things that I had not noticed as much in this perfume, in Eau Sauvage. I really picked up like this distinct basil note in Eau Sauvage, whereas Rochas Moustache started to get a little bit more woody and mossier. And if I could sort of give you a graphic representation of how these developed, the Moustache 1949 sort of started to head towards a kind of darker area, whereas the Eau Sauvage almost started to billow off the skin. So one was floating and the other one was sinking. And not that is actually a bad thing for the moustache. It's just a different characteristic, and it really highlighted to me the main differences. So I can't say, what I used to think was Moustache 1949 was a good version of Eau Sauvage, but it's actually just another alternative to Eau Sauvage. And it's the same perfumer. I'm very curious. I wish I could find out more about its development, given that 17 years later, he came up with Eau Sauvage for Dior. And I just wonder how much of Moustache 1949 carried into that particular composition. Anyway, it's very interesting how perfumers sort of carry some trademark through their work over the years. So in the dry down, there's definitely a mossiness that comes through, but it's amazing how differently they both react. So Moustache 1949 sort of starts to seep into this earthy, woody territory, and it's almost a musty smell that comes from, I'm guessing, a combination of moss and patchouli. Like it really gets into the earth, and Eau Sauvage has moss, but it's almost like it's moisture evaporating off the moss. It's the way they both behave that makes them quite distinct. And the Moustache 1949 is something that sinks into the earth and gives you something very solid, whereas Eau Sauvage is quite an ethereal perfume when you compare it to Moustache 1949. And having said that, during the dry down on the skin, I did definitely feel like the Moustache 1949 was a more present perfume in that it was easier to smell than when I had to dig my nose into my skin for this Eau Sauvage. However, hours later after they'd gone, I could still detect Eau Sauvage. So Eau Sauvage is if you like if you want to use the analogy, Eau Sauvage is a steamy presence, whereas Moustache 1949 is of the earth and the woods. They coexist, but on different planes. But they're always kind of present. Sometimes it's just easier to sense something solid rather than something that's ethereal and not easily grasped. That's what I think is the magic of Eau Sauvage. But Moustache 1949 is really good for its own reasons and its own characteristics. So I highly recommend that if you are a fan of Eau Sauvage and that ilk of perfume, that genre of perfume, Rochas Moustache 1949. I don't know how faithful it is a recreation of the original, but in its current form, it is really a really good perfume for this type of citrus, woody, mossy style. Probably a little bit old school for you younger people, but if you like Eau Sauvage, I don't see how you couldn't like Moustache for something a little bit different. I'm completely changed my mind about them being clones of each other or copies of each other, because they use the same, let's just say, use the same instruments, but the sounds are coming out totally different. That's my review of Moustache 1949 in comparison to Dior's Eau Sauvage. And please, a reminder, I'm comparing it to a current version of Eau Sauvage, and the Moustache is also a current version, and the bottle is just beautiful. They've done a really good job with that design. I hope you found that review interesting, and if you've tried both of them or one of them, let me know. I'll see you soon. Bye.